In part 2 of the geometry series, we will look at how we can modify the geometry of a part in 3 different ways, using the mouse, the keyboard, and point editors. Let's select the same rectangle again. I briefly talked about how to move a part using the keyboard arrow keys. Let's finish this topic here. When a part or one of its points is selected, the arrow keys will move the part by 5 pixels or by 1 pixel if the shift key is down while we press an arrow key. So for example, up will move at 5, down will move at 5, and so on. Now when the shift key is pressed at the same time, notice the part only moves by 1 pixel. Now let's see in more detail how to use point selections. The center point here is used to move the entire part. So in a sense, the center point receives operations from keyboard arrow keys. We can also grab the selection with the mouse and move it around. We can move it to a different page if we wanted to, but we can't move it to an empty area. So let's move it back here and just leave it there. Finally, we can use one of the point editors to do that. To move the entire part by, say, 3 points, I can enter 3 in the delta Y field and click on apply. So 3, and then apply. Notice that the 3 here is in points, not in pixels. I can also click on the center point and enter its coordinates precisely. So if I want this to be 260 precisely and 230 or 530, I can do that here. Hit apply. Again, these coordinates are in points. The 4 corner point selections are used to move that corner point without moving the part itself. So if I go here and click on this and drag it, notice that I can resize this part while this point is fixed. Also notice that the text flows inside the chain cells. If the part is an image, like this image here, and I resize it, then the part will retain its aspect ratio, i.e. it will not get distorted. I can also retain the aspect ratio for this part by doing the same thing with the shift key depressed on the keyboard while I do that. So if I do this, the shape retains its aspect ratio. Also, we can edit any point, any corner point selection by going here and entering a value. So I could go here and enter 100 for X, and let's say 580 for Y. Just like that. The 4 side selection points operate in the same way as the corner selection points, except they only affect one dimension. Top and bottom selection points change the Y value of that point while ignoring the X value. Same thing for the left and the right points. They change the X value while the Y value is ignored. Again, for an image, the image is not distorted. The aspect ratio is preserved. And if we want to preserve the aspect ratio of other objects, then we press the shift key down while we do this operation. Once again, this point can be edited in the point editor, but in this case the X value is ignored. So if I type in here 0 and I type in here 500 and apply, the Y value will change and X is not changed at all. Path selection, the 9 boundary points will work the same way as before. The center point will move it, the corner points will resize it in the X and Y, and the side points will move it in one direction only. In addition to these points, we also have the individual points that make up the path also available to edit. So we have the line segments here and the curve segment, the 2 endpoints and the 2 control points. So I can grab any of them and just move it. Or I could also click on one of them and go here in the point editor and enter a value. Let's say I want to do 450. And the Y, let's say 90. Press apply and the point will move. Notice if I move this point and then move this point, the selection shrinks to fit the path. An overall selection also works the same way. We have the 9 green boxes here represents an overall selection. So the center point here of the selection moves and moves the 3 parts inside it, and the side will move the side and the corner will move the corner. The parts inside the overall selection will resize to fit the new boundary. Individual points all inside the overall selection also available in the same way as before. So I can grab this point and change it, or grab this point and change it. Notice the overall selection changes. These points are also available to edit in the Omega console, but the green ones are not available for editing.